Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Your Daily Star Trek News. Coming up on the show today, we're saying goodbye to special effects wizard Douglas Trumbull. Out Magazine features the cast of Star Trek Discovery on a series of special edition covers. Prodigy producer Aaron J. Waltke, hi Aaron J. Waltke, spoils all of season 2, but not really. And I'm letting you know how you can be a part of Star Trek Mission Chicago. So I forgot to say the date. It's going really well already. Today is Sunday, February 13th, 2022. My name is Alison Pitt, and this show is supported by people like you through Patreon. And you can find out more and how to add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. We're getting off to a roaring start. This is going to be a great show. All right, so if you are listening to me on the podcast today, then please come and join us over on YouTube if you have the time. We do this every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, live on YouTube. I cover the news, we do a little bit of show and tell, and we do this week's poll, which I will come on to. And there's some tremendous people in the chat, and we have a really good time. And for those of you watching live on YouTube, stick around to the very end, and we'll just talk about stuff, and it'll be fun. Right, so before we get going with the news, I just want to remind everybody that everything that I talk about on today's show is over on dailystartreknews.com and more. We've got pictures there, we've got links to the original source articles, there's videos, and we even have some special weekly articles with Star Trek history. We've got our events listing over there. And if you missed last week's Valentine's Day themed Trek Trivia Tuesday, you can go and check that out as well. So that's dailystartreknews.com. Please go in there, and you can also sign up for the daily newsletter while you're there as well. It's dailystartreknews.com/contact. Right. So I promised you a poll today, as I do every week, and I do try to make them thematically appropriate for whatever's going on in the news. This week was a little difficult to do that. So instead, we're talking about birds, because I've heard that there is something to do with a superb owl. That's a big event that's happening this afternoon. So I thought, okay, Star Trek birds. I amuse myself anyway. All right. So which of the following Star Trek birds is your favorite? We've got a Romulan warbird. We've got a Klingon bird of prey. We've got a nightbird, which is Riker's favorite jazz song that he can't play the solo to. And of course, the final answer is the great bird of the galaxy. So this poll is happening live on YouTube right now. I've also posted it on Twitter at Daily Trek News if you'd like to go and participate on Twitter as well. At the end of the show, I'll review what the folks in chat here have had to say, and also what the poll is looking like over on Twitter as well. So that poll again, what Star Trek bird is your favorite? And your choices are Romulan warbird, a Klingon bird of prey, the song Nightbird, or the great bird of the galaxy. So vote early, but you can only vote once. So there you go. Please forgive me if I'm a little bit choked up today. For those of you who are familiar with Southern California weather, you will have heard of the Santa Ana winds. For those of you who are not, the Santa Ana winds are a special kind of hot wind that blows in off the desert from time to time. And for the last few days, we've had some really hot weather coming in, and it brings with it a lot of desert dust. So I apologize. I will try and keep the gross vocal machinations to a minimum. Thank you for your patience today. Okay, so I'm going to start off the news with some sad news. This one actually really hit me hard, and I don't like doing obituaries on this show because it's always sad. Everyone who worked on Star Trek at some point or another was influential, and this one hit me particularly hard. And because I'm really bad at these things and I will leave something out, I'm actually just going to go ahead and read the obituary that David wrote for us last week, because I don't want to leave anything out. So David, if you're in the chat, thank you for this. And for everybody else, that's why I'm looking at my screen and not at you guys. All right. He directed Natalie Wood in her last film, worked with Stanley Kubrick, and he was the son of the Academy Award winner and special effects rigger behind the Flying Monkeys and Cowardly Lion's tail in The Wizard of Oz. Star Trek fans will appreciate him for his visual effects work on Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The man who the Science Fiction Hall of Fame called an innovative master of special effects, Douglas Trumbull, died on Monday, February 7th at the age of 79. Now, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Trumbull was a Los Angeles native and grew up enjoying science fiction movies and building crystal set radios. He would go on to do visual effects work for multiple projects, including 2001: A Space Odyssey, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Blade Runner, and The Andromeda Strain, which was directed by Robert Wise. Trumbull directed, among other films, Brainstorm, which was Natalie Wood's final picture. Now, it was Robert Wise who brought Trumbull in to take over special effects work on Star Trek: The Motion Picture from the THR obituary. Trumbull agreed to take on the tight deadline, 6 months, to complete more Close Encounters combined in exchange for a considerable fee and release from his Paramount contract. 3 crews worked across 24-hour periods, 7 days a week to beat the deadline. Wise allowed Trumbull to reconceive and direct the film's most celebrated sequence, the shuttle pod circling the majestic Enterprise before docking. It contains no dialogue, a decision Trumbull credits from working with Kubrick, who taught him to stop talking for a while and let it all flow. Trumbull also helmed Spock's spacewalk, which clearly borrowed from his 2001 Stargate sequence. I thought it would be fun to just get kind of abstract and make it a fantasy dream sequence in a way, not literal, he said. Star Trek designer Michael Okuda expressed on his Facebook page that he was shattered to learn of the death of Trumbull and that he was an artist and an innovator and a personal hero. Among other honors, Trumbull was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame in 2010, and he received 3 Academy Award nominations, including 1 for his work on the motion picture. For much more on the life and work of Douglas Trumbull, you can see the full obituary over at The Hollywood Reporter, and please join all of us here at Daily Star Trek News in sending our condolences to Douglas Trumbull's family. And once again, thank you to Dave Powell for writing that for us. Right. Okay, so, excuse me, I'm sorry. So moving on this week to a little more celebratory news. And honestly, if you have been on the internet at all this week and you follow anything Star Trek, I can't fathom that you have not seen these pictures. So Out magazine is celebrating the cast of Star Trek Discovery, which I think many people would agree is about the gayest version of Star Trek that has ever been produced. And they've featured a number of Star Trek Discovery actors as part of a series of special covers for their magazine and interviews talking about their experiences being part of the LGBTQ community and their effects on Star Trek Discovery and that series. This is another one of these days where I wish I had figured out how to share my screen with you on the stream, and one day I will figure out how to do that. For now, I won't talk too much about it, but I will leave a link to all of these pictures here, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, in the show notes for the podcast, because the images that they came up with for the cast of Star Trek Discovery are just phenomenal. I mean, you've got Anthony Rapp in like the most amazing kind of suit thing with the hair and the pose, and it's amazing. There's a beautiful picture of Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp together as well. Great pose with Blue Del Barrio and Ian Alexander together, and of course, they're together on Star Trek Discovery. Tig Notaro is in there as well. And then, oh my God, Mary Wiseman. If you have not seen the pictures of the glamour queen that is Mary Wiseman, that is she looks just incredible. And then, of course, the final cover there was Emily Coots, who's now whose character you guys know I can't remember people's names ever. The redhead with the eye thing. she's on the final cover talking about how her job working on Star Trek Discovery actually helped her come out to her family and sort of live her most authentic self as well. So a really great set of covers and actually a really great honor for Star Trek Discovery. Go and check those out for yourself. You will not be disappointed. So now, speaking of other pictures I can't show you right now, excuse me again. There was kind of a funny thing that happened on Twitter this week, and it was an exchange between Star Trek Prodigy producer Aaron J. Waltke and also Star Trek Lower Decks producer Mike McMahon. So, as some of you probably already know, they're in development of a big XL model of the USS Cerritos over at Eagle Moss. And Mike McMahon posted a picture on Twitter of his new model. He got this prototype of the USS Cerritos, hilariously with the word Cerritos misspelled. That was pretty funny. But what he said was, big surprise in the mail today, the prototype USS Cerritos. Big thank you to Ben Robinson. It's wild to have imagined this ship and now get to hold an amazing model of it, which is great. He posted 2 pictures of it and it's beautiful. And in the background, he put a little, there's a notebook back there that says, Season 4 notes. For legal reasons, I'm fairly certain that all of these are a joke. One of them says Boimler gets a new something, which I don't know exactly what that is. Another one called 3Vix. More warp cores on the protostar. 7, 8 question mark. And then Mariner's Battle of the Beards pisses off somebody whose name I can't read. Anyway, in response to that, Aaron J. Waltke, of course, who's the producer on Star Trek Prodigy, says, we don't have a ship model yet, but we do have these cool medallions. And he showed a picture of these cool Star Trek Prodigy medallions with, again, the notebook visible in the background. And I think I might have talked about this last week, actually. But yeah, Mark Twain returns, 4Vix. Call Mike to confirm words of wisdom. Captain Tendi finally reveals she is Chakotay from the alternate timeline, and Dahl reveals all of the ways, all of... I can't even see it. All of TNG was a hologram, a holodeck program he created, so it's good. Yeah. I love these guys, their camaraderie on Twitter. So if you don't follow them already, please go and do so. And you never know, you might get some little, you know, sneak peek spoilers. Although in fairness, I would not at all be surprised to see a version of Tuvix in Lower Decks. Because, all right. Anyway, let's move on. So the next story today is talking about the comics. Now, I've told you a while back about IDW. Their next sort of series is they're doing a series of one-shot comics that are sort of exploring some of the backstories of some of the different other races that we've seen. So one of them, we've already heard about the Klingon one that's coming. I can't remember when that one is coming out or if it's already come out. And then the next one that's coming out in April is featuring the Ferengi, and it is called The Future. What is it called? Yeah, it's Star Trek Ferengi, and it's called. The tagline is "The future is female," and it features a a cover of Quark and I think his mother with kind of a 70s feel to it, and Quark is holding a sign that says "Not on my station." So here's what the official synopsis from IDW says about the issue. Dive deeper into the world of Star Trek with another extra long issue focusing on the memorable aliens of the franchise. This month, follow Quark on an unforgettable adventure to Ferenginar, where mother, brother, and brother challenge the very core beliefs of Ferengi culture. Witness Ferengi history change forever in this can't miss issue. This issue has been written by Christina Rice and featuring artwork by Andy Price. That's once again, that's coming out in April and it's going to retail for $7.99. The best place to get that, hands down, is your local comic book shop. Look on the internet, find your local comic book shop. And just a quick aside. So I was never into comic books really at all until very, very recently. And I was really intimidated going into comic book shops. Like, I will say, especially as a woman, I didn't really know how it works. If you've ever been into a comic book shop and you don't know what's going on, it's kind of intimidating. The thing to do is to go to your comic book shop, ask the person at the front whether they have what you're looking for, and if they don't, ask them to pull it for you. Leave them your name, your phone number, and they will pull it for you when it comes in, and that's the best way to get specific titles if that's what you want to do. If they have a series, you can also ask them to pull the whole series, and then you can come in and get it. Highly recommended that you do it. Comic book shops are like... I don't know, it's kind of old school, and they all have little communities, and it's a great way to support your local community too. So please go and do that. If you can avoid ordering it from a big box place, I would highly recommend that you do that. Plus, you never know who you'll meet at those places. So that's it. Yes, support your local comic shops is my point. Forgive me, my nose is running. I need tips on how to avoid all of this. Anyway, okay, so all right, that's pretty much sort of news for this week. And then the next, I've got 2 or 3 more stories that are really just talking about fandom and things that you guys can do and how you can get involved. So the big one this week is that Star Trek Mission Chicago is looking out for fan participants in the convention. And what does that mean? They are looking for people to come up with fan panels or do other kinds of fan-based programming. So, not stuff that they've come up with, but stuff that you guys want to put on. You can have a fan table, so they'll set you up in the vendor's room. Or you can also apply to be a member of the crew and actually, work for the show. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had this experience before, but I can tell you personally, I've actually I've only gone to 1 or 2 Star Trek conventions where I wasn't working the convention, and for me, working at a convention is one of the best experiences that you can have. First of all, because it gets you into all the cool places and you just kind of have an excuse to stand around. But also you kind of learn how things work and you get to know the other people that do the similar jobs. So if you have if you have a podcast, a website, if you have a Starfleet international group, anything like that you would like to sort of talk to people about, and you'd like to have kind of a base of operations at Star Trek Mission Chicago, please consider doing this. There is, I can't adequately explain how the experience of going to a convention changes when you are hosting a table there. It's not too expensive, it's not difficult to get promotional materials, and it kind of, you then become part of the show. It's kind of an amazing experience. So you can go to their website. It's StarTrekMissions.com, and you can find the application. Applications are only open through this week. So go and have a look at that now if you are in any way interested. Once again, they're looking for fan panels and programming. So, if you're into that I'm not much of a panel person, but if you're into that sort of thing, this is an opportunity for you to talk to more people. It's great. A fan table where you can set up in the vendor's hall, or if you just want to work as part of the crew and maybe get yourself some perks too. All those things are available. So go to, once again, it's StarTrekMissions.com. Check it out. And honestly, if you decide to do this and it's your first time doing it, please let me know. I would love to hear your experience, because for me, working the conventions is one of the experiences I've ever had. So speaking of other sort of events, things that you can participate, I think last week we told you about the virtual TrekCon's LLAPy Awards. They're coming out in March. Sorry, I'm looking on the website right now. Yeah, the winners are going to be announced on Sunday, March 20th, but voting is open right now and they close today. Close at midnight Pacific time today. Um, so if you want to vote on things like the best pilot episode in a legacy Star Trek series or the most wholesome moment in Star Trek Prodigy, you can vote on all of those today. And then you'll find out all the winners of those in March. So if you would like to participate in that and make your voice heard, go to virtualtrekcon.com/lappies. That's LLAPYS. So that's virtualtrekcon.com /lappies, LLAPYS. You can vote. And remember, it's only open today. So got to be quick. Okay, and following on from both of those things, I just want to remind everybody, because not everybody who watches this show on YouTube or listens to the podcast is signed up for the newsletter or goes to the website on a regular basis. But we do have an events listing that goes out every Thursday, sometimes Wednesday night. We try to include as much Star Trek related events that we can. Some of them are in person, some of them are web exclusive, some of them, via Zoom or clubs, that sort of thing. There's a whole bunch of regular stuff that goes on from week to week, some Twitter hashtags and other like watch parties. And we've added a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new regular things that are going on to that listing. So if you are looking for some more people, some more Star Trek people to meet, go and check that out. Also, if you have a group that is not already on our list, then please reach out to us, let us know the details, and we will help drive people towards your event and maybe help you grow that too. One of the best things about being in the Star Trek community is actually being part of the community. And we really believe that here at Daily Star Trek News, which is why we do the events listing. So please go and check that out on the website. Look for it in our daily newsletter every Thursday. And a huge thank you to Marina Kravchuk, who compiles all of those things, and also to Dave Powell, who usually writes up all the events every week for us as well. Right. Okay. And right, the very last thing today. Are you a fan of Andrew Robinson, whose name I couldn't remember last week? And Garrick on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's his birthday coming up. And Sid City, which is Alexander Siddig's official fan club, they are raising money for him and giving you guys an opportunity to have your messages to him get heard. So there's, I retweeted it earlier yesterday, I think, and I, of course, leave a link in the show notes down below here and for the podcast. They are raising money through GoFundMe for Save the Children. It's one of his favorite causes. And if you make that donation and leave your birthday message, then of course you'll see that as part of the big donation that they're making in his name. So I'm not going to read out. Okay, I won't read out the link because it's gibberish. But if you go onto on Twitter at Sid City Online, SIDCITY Online, they've posted about that. I've also retweeted that post on at Daily Trek News. And after this show is over, I will make sure and leave a link in the show notes as well if you would like to be part of that fundraising effort in honor of Andy Robinson's birthday. So go and do that. It's for a great cause. Okay, that's it for the big news this week. Huzzah. Now, before I just get into our show and tell and our poll results, I want to remind you that everything we're doing here today and the website and all the outreach we do is supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more about everything that goes on at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. You can support this show and what we do from just $1 a month. We do offer a discount on the full year's subscription, so that works out to be about $10 US per year to support us and what we do. So please consider joining us if you haven't already. You can go to patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Also, please don't forget that there is a poll running in the chat if you're joining us on YouTube today. If you are not joining us on YouTube today, there's also a simultaneous poll running over on Twitter. It's twitter.com/Daily Trek News. And this week's poll is all about birds in honor of the superb owl show. Which Star Trek bird is your favorite? You can choose between a Romulan warbird, the Klingon bird of prey, Riker's favorite jazz song, Nightbird, and of course, the great bird of the galaxy. Let me know what you think, and we'll check out the results at the end of this show. So, right. So for show and tell today, and hopefully I can not screw this up because it's very tiny to see. Many of you have probably heard of my story of going to the big 50th anniversary Star Trek Las Vegas convention. Long story short, I was living in England at the time and was probably not going to go. And then circumstances allowed me to go. And instead of going, no, that's ridiculous, I said yes. I took a chance, and a lot of wonderful things happened there, including basically just kicking off my real in-depth love of the Star Trek fandom, the people of doing conventions and going to conventions, and it has a lot to do with me being here right now. So I actually wanted to show you, I mean, a lot of people have these. That's not very exciting. But look at that. That's the 50th anniversary lapel pin. I can't remember who produced this. And I actually don't even think I got it at the 50th. For some reason, I seem to recall that I got it afterwards because they ran out or they weren't available or something. But it just commemorates for me what was a really wonderful convention. And I really hope that all of you guys are able to have an experience like that. I mean, some random, like, were any of you at the 50th in 2016? I'm curious because, like, I remember, God, I think I still have the nail polish. They had a gigantic Mac booth, Mac Cosmetics, gigantic Mac booth in the middle of the vendors hall, constantly playing music and being really loud, and you could get a beamed up. And of course, it kind of blew my woman Star Trek fan because they had officially branded Star Trek cosmetics and they were good. Still some of the best nail polish I ever had. It was a really, really big deal. And that was also the convention that I met John Byrne. And it was also the convention that I met a whole bunch of other people that I never thought I would. Sorry, I rambled a little bit. My point is, that's the little pin. And I think probably a lot of people have these. But I treasure this one because of all the memories associated with that convention. And I genuinely wish the same for all of you. Again, goes back to why we do the events, go out and make those memories too. All right, so, okay, show and tell, that's done. Let's get into the poll. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes on YouTube, and let me flip over to Twitter and see what's going on with Twitter. Let me refresh. Okay. Right. Oh, it's neck and neck. So, okay, currently going on in the poll on Twitter, we have a tie for first place between, and these both have 35% of the vote. There's a tie between the Klingon bird of prey, and yeah, I didn't specify which one. You pick your favorite. Klingon bird of prey and the great bird of the galaxy. Interesting. In third place is the Romulan warbird, and in final place with a pathetic 5% of the vote is Nightbird, and I'm fairly certain that's because nobody knows what Nightbird is. It's pretty. I saw somebody in the chat saying, "Yay, Nightbird," but I'm not sure that everybody knows what that is, but that's okay. Right. Let me end the poll here in the chat and see what we got. Okay. So, for those of you watching live on YouTube, in the lead with 37% of the vote is Romulan warbird. In second place with 33% of the vote is the Klingon bird of prey. With 25% of the vote, it's the great bird of the galaxy. And with just 4% of the vote. It's Nightbird. Anne-Marie says, OMG, I totally voted for Nightbird. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I think you may have been the one person that understood what it was. Awesome. Anyway, thank you all for voting. If you would also like to participate in the Twitter one, you can go and do that too. And yeah, hopefully we'll come up with another ridiculous one again next week. All right. All right, so that's it for this week in Daily Star Trek News. Thank you all so much for listening or coming and joining me in the chat. And like I said, if you are listening to this on the podcast after the fact, you are cordially invited to come and join all of us over on YouTube. It's at 2 p.m. Pacific time live. We do all of the news, all of the show and tell. It's much easier to see the show and tell and just generally chat and have fun. And of course, for everybody, just remember that you can find all of this week's stories and even more at dailystartreknews.com. We've got all of the links to the original sources, videos, images, and the extra stuff like history and the events listing. Those are all on dailystartreknews.com. And if you are missing the daily fix of Daily Star Trek News, you can sign up for our totally free Daily Star Trek newsletter that will come to your inbox every single day. And we don't take any of your personal information. So just your email, because otherwise, how would we deliver it to you? Anyway, that's at dailystartreknews.com/contact if you would like to sign up. Anyway, thank you again for listening. This show is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and the stories today were written by Chris Peterson, Marina Kravchuk, Jack Brown, T. Rick Jones, and David Powell. Today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I'll be back next week with more of the Star Trek news that you need to know. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper. And everybody stick around because we'll chat. I keep forgetting to say that. I really have to apologize. I'm so sorry about my runny nose and all of my vocal problems today. I don't really know what the etiquette is. I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know what to do. Do I just not go live? I don't know. It's a problem. Anyway, I am sorry for the grossness and thank you all for being here. Anyway, let me, I'm going to scroll back up for a second and say hi to some folks because I see some familiar names in the chat and I just want to make sure I say hi. So, hi to Dr. Mohammed Noor. I don't know why I say your voice that funny. Dr. Mohammed Noor is a science consultant on Star Trek, and he also is the host of BioTrekkie Explains over on YouTube as well. So go and check out his show. Mohammed, when is the new series coming out? Because Dr. Noor has done a series called BioTrekkie with the Admiral. They were looking at Discovery Season 3, and I believe we've got something new coming out soon-ish. When's that coming out? I see a Sergio, Wild Sergio has entered the chat. David, of course. Sorry. Mohammed says the new series comes out end of March of this year. So make sure you go over to BioTrekkie Explains and subscribe and turn on the little notifications so you can find when he posts a new episode. Hi to Anne-Marie, hi to Robert Kaiser, hi to Wardog Heim, hi to Mimi. a new entry into the chat. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. BC, Alamarine to you too. And Anne is in the chat today. Hi, Anne. Hope you're doing well. William, Marina, yay. Yes, Marina was at, so I think I may have met you, Marina, at STLV in 2016. And it's so funny to think about the fact that, so in 2016, I was with Priority One podcast, which is sadly not producing anymore. But I met a lot of people there, but I also went by a stage name, Kenna. So I really didn't know anybody there, and nobody really knew me, despite the fact that we did a lot. I'm not sure if we did the Facebook live streams at that point. I can't remember. I know we did audio live streams. And then, I started to sort of meet people more over the years. And then when it came to 2019, I was no longer with Priority One, but I'd moved into Daily Star Trek News. So a few people knew me from Daily Star Trek News, but I hadn't started doing video at that point, and I'd only just started by going by my actual real name. So I really didn't know anybody. And then we haven't had STLV since then. Um, it's going to be a whole new experience the next time we actually have a big Star Trek convention. Sadly, Mission Chicago is a little bit too much of a stretch for me this year, but hopefully when we're all back in the swing of things and, it's easier to take some time off work, we can get back into the swing of conventions, because I love the conventions. Anyway. Who have I missed? Tim is in there. Why were you guys talking about Moogie? Oh, from the Ferengi one shot. Okay. Okay, so Zachary Muffet in the chat, and I'm not actually sure if he was talking to me or not. So I'm just going to answer it because I'm here. He asked in the chat, what's your opinion on the con link in Strange New Worlds? I don't understand the franchise's need to constantly keep in the past instead of create new stories and new characters. I can't remember if I've actually talked about this specific issue on this show. I can't remember. It's fine. I agree with you. I do think that we're missing a trick a little bit by kind of constantly going back to established touchstones in the Star Trek franchise. I think it feels a little bit stale. And there's some really, really, really great science fiction storytelling going on television, which totally flies in the face of the whole, like, a few years ago, I don't remember who said it. They were like, "Oh, you can't make science fiction on television anymore." Which, maybe you can't on TV, but it's totally not true on streaming, because we've got great shows like The Expanse. Foundation was fantastic if you watch that on Apple TV Plus. I've heard really great things about Devs. I've heard great things about Raised by Wolves. Science, and they are behaving exactly as they should as the, I don't know, cash cow of the franchise. But it does make me a little bit sad. And what do I think about the con connection? I think they'll probably do a good job with it. I think it will make sense, but I think it has the potential to distract from what could otherwise be good storytelling. So I reserve judgment. If there's one thing that I've learned from being in the Star Trek sort of media space for longer than I'd like to admit, it's that there's not really a lot of point in, like, having opinions about things that haven't happened yet. It starts fights, and you actually don't know what you're going to get at the end. There is a completely non-committal opinion about that. So there we go. Shout out to John Martin, who says, finally catching you live. Thank you for the great content. I'm glad that you managed to join us live, and I don't recognize your name, and so you're clearly a newish person. Thank you for joining us, and I appreciate it. Welcome to the pack. The guys in the chat, you guys have like a thing. Is it the chat pack? It's not invented by me. I think it came across from Virtual TrekCon or Seventh Rule or something. I don't know. It's a great group here, and welcome. Why should I even have a show? There's a Super Bowl on. Nobody's going to pay any attention. But, thank you for coming. As David points out, birds aren't real. So, and there's a couple more people that I didn't get to. Stam Saddlers, welcome, another new face, and Cerulean Blue, who I do actually recognize, right? And Trekking Zoe, hi. Right, I'm scrolling down. Okay. David, you said my audio is crapping out. Just me. Yeah, it may not have been you. I had a little thing come up as well saying it's having trouble. So if that's the case, I apologize. Hopefully that shouldn't happen on the podcast version of this, because I do a backup recording instead. So hopefully that's okay. And Robert says, yes, the hashtag chat pack is a originally 7th Rule VTC thing, but a lot of those people have come over here, and so I welcome you. We're all one big happy family as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's wonderful that so many of you guys kind of hop from show to show. I think that's great. So Just Genius says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. I really can't get my head around the fact that it's already the middle of February. It doesn't help that, listen, in Southern California today, it is currently 84 degrees and sunny. Climate change is real, kids. Yeah, so Just Genius asks, what's your favorite Star Trek sport? But first of all, I'm going to throw that open to the chat as well. I'm curious to see what your guys' favorite Star Trek sports are. I'm trying to think. I'm always fascinated by the baseball in Deep Space Nine, because like they're super into it, but it's supposedly a very extinct sport. Can a sport go extinct? I mean, I know that people like can like not play it that much, but you have a holodeck, so okay. I'm a fan of the potential for like passive aggressive physical violence that comes with the ambo jitsu. So with Riker fighting his dad, that's good. I don't know. What do you guys think? Cerulean Blue says Dom Jot is a sport. Yeah, but the Nazicans always cheat. So Tim says, what was that sport that The Rock did in Voyager? I don't know. I don't remember what it was called, but it was kind of like, I don't know, boxing or something, cage fighting. I don't know. Yeah, and Robert says, yes, baseball went practically extinct as we found out in Deep Space Nine, but I really don't see how any sport could go extinct when there's a holodeck. So Robert Kaiser says Sunkatsu. Yes, that's the name of that sport. In fact, it's also the name of the episode, if I remember correctly, from Voyager. And as Tim points out, yes, American Gladiators, the Space Rock edition. I think if you put Sunkatsu and Dom Jot, the other one, the one that I just literally said a second ago, Ambo Jitsu, like those could be two different phases. So, it'd be fun. Right. Guys, I think it's time for me to wrap things up here. I appreciate you all being here, and it's wonderful to see some familiar names in the chat. I do love seeing you all. Thank you all for coming. You now have 15 minutes to go and get your nachos ready. I believe. I don't know when kickoff is, actually. I'm showing my total ignorance. I think it's like 3 or 3:30 or something. It's I'm gonna go and support the is it the tigers and the sheep or something? Thank you again, everyone, for joining. And just a reminder, we will be back next week. If you want the daily fix, sign up for the newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. It's free. Otherwise, once again, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye.